Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. I'm very happy that Ugo invited us to do the Saturday morning session with some results of our activities in Vienna in the past. Okay. First, I have to talk about the research in rehabilitation from the past to the future programs, leading also to the discussion at noon. As you know, the history of physical medicine and rehabilitation is very, very long. And, in former times, the thermal hot water and springs, as you know it from Avano and Monte Grotto, were the only physical activity they can use in former times. The Greeks and the Romans add also the aquatic therapy, massage, and heat and cold. And, more of these physical exercises, more for soldiers, for the rehabilitation of soldiers was the most important thing at that time, Paracelsus also was performing the massage. And yesterday we heard a lot of Galvani, Volta, Berthelon, and Duchenne from the electrical stimulation of the inner ear. There was a big history presentation. And up from the 19th century, there was locomotion education. On the one side, for the nervous system, especially pronounced from France. And in Swedish, there were the medical gymnastics at Ling and Zander. And also the first time of the word rehabilitation was introduced by Bousquet, Toro, in the 19th century, And you all know the work of Kneipp in Germany and Priesnitz in Austria about the heat and cold of aquatic therapy, So if we go to rehabilitation, usually it's divided in 3 phases. In the acute hospital, immediately after the operation, in the phase 2, in inpatient rehabilitation or outpatient rehabilitation after the acute hospital. And the phase 3 is long-term outpatient rehabilitation to stabilize the success of the rehabilitation procedures. Till now, it was always been measured with force, function, also circumferences of the thigh, and did some systemic training parameters and questionnaires. This was what we did in the last 10 or 20 years. We have this force and then function, 5 times chair rise, also with seniors, very sufficient and short and valid method to check the force of these seniors. Also the 10 meters test with maximum and a normal speed. We can immediately see, are they able to walk with 1 meter per second? Yes or not, less or more. This is very easy to decide also the physical performances of these seniors, Time up and go is also a very common test to stand up, go 3 meters, turn around, come back, sit down, and you see only by your clock to stopwatch, is it less than 10 seconds, it's all okay. More than 10 seconds is a little bit tricky, but up to 20 seconds, it's really a little bit less functional performance. Okay, the circumference measurement at the past was the only one. All the clinical studies in the past was mostly with functional results and not with more, not ignoring some underlying mechanism. And you see the development in the meantime in the animal experiments and our collaboration. We decided to have CT scans, histology. Remember Hans Hoppeler did my first analysis in 1986, And it was a big advantage to have also the knowledge from Feliciano Brodasi, as he could show us yesterday how critical and new approaches of the electron analysis of the muscle. We also were using the knowledge of Antonio and Marco for to analyze the molecular markers, and Ugo was since years fond of ultrasound. So only to remember the CT scan and colored CT scan of the quadriceps and thigh muscles in the field of electrical stimulation of the innervated muscle leads to divide between fat and improvement of normal muscle, atrophic muscle, and connective tissue. And this was also the big advantage of Paolo in Iceland and from Christian Hofer in Vienna to have under the auspices of Ugo, of course, to make this color stained CT scans where we measured the Hounsfield units, the volume, and the improvement, and most of them also the composition of muscle, of connective tissue, of fat, and especially you see the circumference measurement around the skin is not reliable for the amount of atrophy or so, because you have always this fat tissue under the skin. Yeah. So, and therefore, thanks to Hans, this was the picture of 1986 I got from thing, and this was the first biopsy, muscle biopsy we did in Vienna. And left is my thigh muscles at that time. I was the first Bini geek, Bini big at that time. Okay. And here now some of our results of in the senior sportmen. We saw with the help of Sandra and Ugo that the differences from young sportmen to senior sportmen in the muscle fiber diameter is not so much. You see, it's 30, 70, 60, and 56. But the force production of this muscle is much, much more different. What is the reason of this? We were discussing at that time, but we saw after the control of the electron microscopic control of Feliciano and the results of the numbers of triads, that the content of calcium release unit per 100 square mu, yeah, from young is about 30, from sedentary about 10 to 12, and for trained seniors sportsmen about 20. And you remember, it's 10, 20, and 30. So the content of the triads, or the number of triads, is much more in relation to the force production than all the other parameters. So he said the loss of muscle force in aging is one thing, is also the reduction of calcium release. Calcium release units, the calcium release by less infrastructure of the muscle and malformation of the calcium release units, especially from triads and mitochondria. Yeah? And this was from Simona, the picture of her presentation of a paper in 2006. You see the number of triads in a young very regularly, thanks to Simona and to Feliciano, to bring here some knowledge in physical medicine and the rehabilitation. And the 70-year-old man, you are missing all these triads at the right place, and on the right side you see the calculation of the calcium spreading by one contraction, and you see it's less by less triads. So, where is this? I said always Sorry, I have to go back. One back. This reduction is related in young sportsmen and young people. We know that the fiber size diameter is in correlation to the force production. This is true for young, but it's not true for elderly. Elderly, there are much more degeneration problems, especially in the calcium release units on the one side, and as we heard it yesterday from the neuromuscular junction is also a very important degeneration we have to take in account in elderly. Yeah. So now it's also very fine. Thank you, Feliciano and Simona and Michelucci for this impressive talk yesterday and for publication in 2017, you know, and it's the new development you saw about the elongation of the T-tubules and the adaptation or reorganization of the sarcoplasmatic reticulum due to activity, and then to have better performance of the muscle is a crucial what we have to take in account in the next rehabilitation research projects, you know. And also congratulations to you, Feliciano, because your energy to defend this new results, to publish these new results from 2016 to 17, it was really impressive to see it.
Thank you.
Thank you. And then to Antonio, with the help of Antonio, we could also to add this molecular markers to the electrical stimulation of seniors, to the behavior of seniors, and to analyze sedentary seniors about 70 years old, and what are they doing if they stimulate 3 times a week with normal electrical stimulation for 9 weeks, you know, and you see the impressive enlargement and improvement of IGF-1 isoforms, what we, thanks to Antonio for this fantastic results. Also the knowledge of molecular biologists as Antonio and Marco was really the big step forward for the for our scientific underlying mechanisms of our clinical research, you know, at that time, you know. In future, this was a little bit what we did in the last 10 or 20 years. And I think Ugo's dream and my dream is always to go now from this little invasive techniques of biopsies to non-invasive techniques. And thanks to Ugo for his work on saliva, and my dream with Barbara Ravara, he presented it on Thursday. And my dream and Ugo's dream is to have this analysis also from the sweat, because it's much, much easier, but we will see. The imaging, non-invasive imaging of muscle tissue and muscle fiber size and so, and orientation, you saw yesterday by the presentation of Sheena, and also by the sonography of Piri, you know. I think the combination of this imaging with MRI and sonography with high density EMG results can be one big step forward, but in the rehabilitation procedure to assess the rehabilitation results. Okay, our next program, maybe we can discuss this also at noon, is to have this early rehabilitation. I will show this picture to the discussion at noon. Ugo, okay? You agree? Okay. What we are doing now is to have a new EU project in early rehabilitation after knee and hip replacement. The only advantage is to start very early after 7 to 10 days after surgery. And we put this patient to underwater therapy. And you remember, aquatic therapy was from 100,000 years ago and 5,000 years ago. And at Greek and Roman time, the only really physical therapy possibility, and we are now make this starting at the 7 or the 10 days of the program. Okay, so I think the challenge of the future is that we have here our development, Ugo, together all the research group in the denervated muscles in the last 10-15 years was very, very impressive. Thank you very much. Also for Sandra with the Munari analysis. But in the future, I think we should have more personal rehabilitation, because there is the economic aspect. We have to have cheaper, faster, and more effective therapy strategies, because the economic situation will us force to have quicker and faster and cheaper rehabilitation processes. So less effort and more benefit in the future. It is only the only chance is to have this with the collaboration of basic researchers, with basic science and the clinical rehabilitation program. Yeah, and thanks to Ugo. As you know, remember, you bring the basic science from Zampieri, Bodasi, Poncombiani, Musaro, and Santi to our clinical work, and the future is sure the translational rehabilitation. And as we told in the past, translational medicine, but translational rehabilitation is crucial to have this more effective therapy strategies and shorter and cheaper rehabilitation programs. Thank you very much.